Welcome to the Practice Brave podcast. I am the host, Brianna Battles, founder of Pregnancy and Postpartum Athleticism and CEO of Everyday Battles. I'm a career strength and conditioning coach, entrepreneur, mom of 2 wild little boys, and a lifelong athlete. I believe that athleticism does not end when motherhood begins, and this podcast is dedicated to coaching you by providing meaningful conversations, insights, and interview topics related to fitness, mindset, parenting, and of course, all the nuances of pregnancy and postpartum. From expert interviews to engaging conversations and reflections, this podcast is your trustworthy, relatable resource for learning how to practice brave through every season in your life. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Practice Brave podcast. And today I'm really excited to announce a special event that we have coming up March 29th and 30th, 2025 in Gilbert, Arizona. We are going to be hosting our first official pregnancy and postpartum athleticism coaching certification weekend course. That was like such a mouthful, but basically we're taking the online certification that we have for coaches that want to learn how to better support and coach pregnant and postpartum athletes. And we are condensing the curriculum into one weekend so that we are saving on time and being really efficient and dialing in the applied science of all the concepts taught in the certification course. Now, this is something that's been on my mind for a long time, and I was really hesitant to do it because I want to deliver quality education. And for me, I always kind of hated on weekend certifications. I was like, you can't teach somebody to coach in a single weekend. Now, what we can do and what I've decided to do in order to kind of combat that thought process and that my belief system is for every single coach that comes to the weekend certification event, we will be giving access to the online certification. So there's still ability to work through the curriculum, go through the interviews, have access to all the different resources, and we'll be directing back to the online course for reference. But what we're really doing is we're adding on to the certification by providing this hands-on learning opportunity. One thing I've noticed through the years, and a source of feedback I had, is I would love to see this in person. I would love to be able to ask you a question like while somebody is moving or on diastasis or on incontinence, just to get that clarity. And then that kind of fast tracks implementation, whether it's for yourself or for the clients that you're working with. And that's what I want to do, is offer just a different learning experience. I think that we all learn differently. We all have different values and priorities and ways for us to implement into our coaching and business best. And the online certification is not going anywhere. That is still certainly the cornerstone of everything that we're doing with pregnancy and postpartum athleticism. But I just wanted to add an additional way to learn, an additional way to create impact to your life and to your coaching, to your community, and to your overall business and what you're able to offer people in your community, your clients. One thing I say all the time is that pregnant and postpartum athletes are no longer considered a special population. Like, women don't need to be convinced that exercise is good for them during pregnancy and postpartum. They know that. This is a common population and it will only continue to grow. I'm in my late 30s, and when I was first starting to work out, there were not women in the weight room. They were all like on the cardio machines. I got really lucky that I was exposed to lifting at a really young age, like when I was 18. But now that has shifted dramatically. Like, there are so many young girls and young women that are lifting that are already bought in on fitness. They know the benefit of it. And that generation is getting pregnant. They will become pregnant, and they need to understand their body, and they need coaches that get them. And if you know how to coach somebody through pregnancy and postpartum, you will be able to coach them across their lifetime of athleticism because of what you understand and learn about what their body experiences during those seasons. So many women don't learn anything about their pelvic floor until they have to, for example, until they start becoming symptomatic. But there's so much that we can do proactively prior to pregnancy, during pregnancy, and in that postpartum rehab into returning to performance postpartum. That sets a foundation for, the skill set and tools and levels of body awareness that women are going to need as they continue to age, as they continue to push the pace in their fitness and in their performance goals, even if those fitness and performance goals are different or paused for a while during these seasons. We still really need coaches that can help guide this process for women. When I was a pregnant athlete 11 years ago, which is wild to think about, there was just nothing was really practical or relatable. I remember just being like, well, obviously, like, I'm just going to keep training the way I always have. Like, I knew even then that exercise was beneficial. That was my education, my experience as a coach, as a lifelong athlete. I had my undergraduate degree in exercise physiology, my graduate degree in coaching. I was like, yeah, I know how to train during pregnancy. But any information on what women's bodies experience during pregnancy, maybe what the predispositions are, and then a postpartum recovery and those considerations that are really specific to, or I guess really specific to how we function and how we're able to perform, none of that was in any of the information. That wasn't anything that was talked about by my doctors, by any coaches that I had, and honestly, by any physical therapist that I ended up meeting postpartum, just trying to learn about like what has happened to my body. I thought I knew what to do. And then I was just blindsided postpartum by my body, and then how I felt mentally, emotionally, physically, like everything just changed. And when you're an athlete, as y'all know, if you're listening to this and you identify as an athlete or you work with athletes, like we're really used to like processes and having control and being able to say, well, if I do X, Y, or Z, then it's going to set me up for a specific outcome. But there's just so many variables that influence pregnancy and postpartum, birth, how we feel, what our body looks like. And we need to know what those variables are. But who's teaching that, right? Like that was the problem, is like, where are we getting that information from? Now you can scroll on social media and you can see people spout off different advice and training tips and things that you should know. And sometimes a lot of like, do this, don't do that, or extreme messaging or examples. And it can be really hard to decipher, like, is this like BS? Or does this like apply to me? And, for the most part, there's just a lot of nuance surrounding these conversations. So even if, someone is a good source of information on social media, like I'm also a creator, I try to put out a lot of good information on social media, that's still not enough to guide somebody's unique training experiences and what their symptoms are. Something that I say on social media is likely not applicable to a handful of people. And that's okay. It can't be, right? There's no hard and set rules. There are no formulas. And that's exactly why we need coaches that can understand nuance, that can take the theories and the concepts and the evidence that we do have and apply it specifically and strategically to their clients, who can put out good content that isn't in these extreme camps, but that are more conversational and educational. And we're instilling new belief systems and understanding, and ultimately teaching female athletes how to understand their body, not just during pregnancy and postpartum, but again, on behalf of this lifetime of athleticism. I think we have a culture now where, if you're an athlete, if you really value your health and fitness, then you're also probably in the like wanting to prioritize longevity. And that's not always attached to being able to deadlift 300 pounds. Like longevity is being able to go skiing with your grandkids someday. It's being able to navigate perimenopause and menopause and still be doing your ultra marathons, or to still be competing in a powerlifting, or to start jujitsu in your 40s, whatever it might be. Like that is the culture of athlete mom that we have now. But an athlete mom, her body has experienced a lot through her pregnancies and her postpartum. Even if everything was, quote, fine, there is still, that system takes a hit. Things are different. They change. And we have to be able to help women navigate the changes their body experiences during pregnancy and postpartum on behalf of those future seasons of aging and of trying to prioritize this quality of life and longevity. So that's why we need to up-level the quality control of the fitness industry. So many women are still told, don't get your heart rate over 140 beats per minute. They're told, don't lift over 20 pounds. Or conversely, they're told, hey, yeah, if you were like lifting before, you can keep lifting and you can lift really heavy. Or they're told that, you can keep running, just keep running all the way through pregnancy. I did it. Therefore, you can do it too. And it's always those sort of like extreme opinions and examples. But I've worked with Olympians, like actual Olympic runners, both distance and sprint. And some of them, honestly, most of them chose not to run throughout the duration of their pregnancy. Same with my triathletes. There's a reason for that, right? With my CrossFitters, with my powerlifters, with my Olympic weightlifters, all at the professional level, they really accommodated and adjusted their training on behalf of what their pregnancy was like, their postpartum. They weren't trying to prove anything. They weren't trying to even be in maintenance mode. They deloaded through that whole chapter. That's because they had intelligent and a strategic approach to their training during pregnancy in order to put themselves in like the most realistic position postpartum to return to the activities and the sports that they want to do. And that kind of knowledge and strategy shouldn't just be reserved for my high-level athletes that I'm working with. That needs to be applied across the board so that women can actually make informed choices that are based on the applied science. Because we don't have a ton of research on pregnancy and postpartum fitness. Nevertheless, for athletes, and I want to be really clear on that, a lot of the research is not focused on female athletes, pregnant and postpartum athletes, athlete moms. Again, we know exercise is beneficial. That is what has been proved over and over and over again in research. We know that it's beneficial. We also need to know how is exercise choice, volume, intensity, loads, etc., influencing core pelvic health, and how is that influencing long-term athletic performance, quality of life, longevity, etc. Some people will say, well, is holding your breath, like doing like Valsalva, is that okay to do during pregnancy? Well, maybe from a baby safety standpoint, yes. But how do we know about the influence that has on the pelvic floor? These are all like areas of nuance and discourse that we have to be having, because we have more and more women that are wanting to live through pregnancy, that are wanting to run, that are wanting to keep playing sports, that are wanting to continue to return to performance and competition, maybe in a shorter duration postpartum. And we have to know how to support that population, because again, this is not a special population anymore. Women are incentivized to keep trying to be fit, keep some sort of baseline of fitness during pregnancy and postpartum, because we know that, a lot of women are having babies into their 30s now and older. And right around the corner from that is perimenopause. We know with all of those changes, we really have to be focused on building muscle and improving and maintaining our bone density. And oftentimes that like maintenance and like last like full send at trying to build mass and build bone density, those years are spent being pregnant for a lot of women, or they're spent being postpartum in the trenches. So how are we guiding women on behalf of the season that they're in, where we are finding an all or something approach to their training to keep them in the game, even if the game looks slightly different than it did before, and even if it looks slightly different than it will a year from now? That is why we need informed coaches. That is why we need strategic coaches who can give more specific guidance than, well, don't lift over 75% of your 1 rep max. No, that's not founded in any evidence. Being able to guide it strategically with that postpartum return. If somebody has a significant diastasis, if they have prolapse and they're so embarrassed, they don't know their first line of defense. They want to get back to the gym, but they're like, I feel like my vagina is going to fall out. Even just walking upstairs, nevertheless being able to squat heavy again, nevertheless being able to run again. And that can be so defeating for any woman to experience. Nevertheless, an athlete whose identity and interests and honestly, like mental health is so well managed through exercise and certain forms of exercise. So who is she going to turn to? A lot of times a doctor will say, well, just don't squat again or don't run. Oftentimes her physical therapist will say like, well, we can do like these pelvic floor exercises, but then that's like not translating to her wanting to deadlift or to sprint or to run. So we have to have somebody who helps connect those dots and helps eliminate some of the noise and the nuance and the fear, but also gives like strategic advice so we're not doing more harm. We are using exercise as a tool, and that's what coaches are so good at. We know the benefits of exercise. We know how to create modifications. We're so creative. We understand science and know how to apply it in ways that the medical and a lot of the practitioner fields just don't. And these are generalizations, please hear me before anybody gets sassy. You know what I mean? Like we have to lean on our coaches to apply the science. And that's what I've spent, 7 years doing now. I launched the Pregnancy and Postpartum Athleticism Coaching Certification in 2017 because I knew, like, if nothing else, I wanted coaches like me to feel like they had the tools and information to understand how to better support this population, because I was like, I needed that. I felt like I was getting embarrassed because I was like, I should have known. I should have taken this a little bit more seriously. Like, I just assumed that because of my background as an athlete and coach and my education, that I was doing everything right for myself and the women that I was working with. And that just wasn't true. There was a lot that I didn't know, and you don't know what you don't know, but we have access and resources to that now. And since 2017, we first launched that online certification course. There's been 3 different editions of it now because things change. I've changed as a coach. We've had almost 5,000 coaches from around the world enroll and become pregnancy and postpartum athleticism coaches. They are doing incredible work in their community, and everybody comes from a totally different background. Yes, lots of coaches, lots of personal trainers, lots of physical therapists, but also OBGYNs, midwives, chiropractors, doulas, nurses, and honestly, a huge majority are people that are like, I came into this because I was selfishly wanting this information. As an athlete, I wanted to know how to best coach myself and help out a few of my friends at the gym. And then they get that bug where they're like, oh my God. And now I realize you can't unknow this stuff. You can't unsee it. And there's such a big opportunity to help and to have coaching sort of complement your life, whether that's something you're doing full-time already, you're a lifelong coach, or that's something you maybe dabble in. You coach a couple classes a week, or you start a small business where you are coaching a handful of clients or a couple classes, or you're doing quarterly workshops and you're collaborating with other birth and fitness and medical professionals in your community. We see it take on so many different iterations of help and impact in communities. And it's been really cool to see how that has evolved over time. Over the last 7 years, there's so many different iterations of how this work is being applied uniquely, depending on the person who enrolls in the course, depending on what their background is, what their interests are, the community that they're in, where they see the need. And we're seeing it applied to so many cool ways. And I'm really proud of that. I'm proud that these coaches have the autonomy to take this information where they are learning. They really get how to apply these concepts, from breathing and pressure management to adjusting tension and movement mechanics and modifications, different positional cueing and strategies, all of which honestly transfer into coaching all women prior to having babies, and perimenopause and beyond, because we're understanding how the female anatomy is influenced by how we exercise and how we train. Because pregnancy and postpartum, that's kind of those are seasons where our vulnerabilities and things that maybe we've been able to overlook kind of get exposed. They are. I mean, these are catalyst seasons for a reason. You probably likely didn't care about your core pelvic floor until you're like, okay, things are a little compromised right now, or this is different, or now I'm symptomatic, or I'm worried about a diastasis because, oh my God, I'm growing a huge baby now. I need to know. Whereas coaches, if they have that information and that education, then they can be really proactive in guiding training during these seasons, really understanding the female body. So much of our research and our training approach has been based on coaching men and their athleticism and their performance considerations. And so this is a way to really niche down, where we're zoomed in on application of training principles for female athletes during pregnancy and postpartum, but the ability to then zoom out and apply a lot of these concepts broadly, that is what will change the course of information and approach to working with female athletes across their lifespan. And we see that happening. We're seeing more and more people say, hey, yeah, in your 30s and 40s and 50s, you really need to be lifting. You really need to be getting high impact training. You need to be doing zone 2 cardio. We're told all of these different things. And we're like, yeah, we know. And also we have to be setting up women and clients with good information on their body so they can be proactive in their 20s and their 30s on behalf of this lifetime of athleticism that is ahead of them amidst the changes to their interests, their identity, their ability, their routine, their capacity, all these things that happens in motherhood. Having coaches that really understand the experience of mothers, because how they're living and what they're able to do or not do, these things change. And I always say, it's different. It's not that it's worse. It's not that it's bad. In fact, I'd argue that I'm a much better athlete now, even a decade later, with 2 boys than I was in my 20s when I was CrossFitty and doing all I'm a better athlete now, even though body's been through so much. What I'm able to do now, and more importantly, the perspective I have, the knowledge that I have on my body, I'm so grateful to have that. And that's what I want women to have, to be equipped with that body awareness and education. So then they are ready to continually advocate for their health and fitness and training. And so that they can believe that their athleticism did not end when motherhood began, because they have coaches and support structures around them that are encouraging their participation in fitness, in competing, in being athletic amidst the chaos of motherhood. They need that support. They need that encouragement. They need that education. And yes, it will be different. Yes, it's absolutely different. And different is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to learn, as women and as athletes, what we really want from our body, from our participation, from our life, for our lifestyle. And then different is an opportunity for coaches to get creative, to learn more, to experiment with what they learn on themselves, with their clients, knowing this is an opportunity to create a lot of impact. A huge majority of people that are working out in gyms, that go to classes, that are being coached by personal trainers are women. And between 80 to 85% of women will have babies. So this isn't a special population that you're I don't really coach. I don't really coach pregnant people. I don't really coach moms that much. Well, if you're not now, you probably will. Because again, we're being so incentivized. We're being so educated, knowing that exercise is really beneficial, that we need to be training. We need smart coaches. We need coaches that understand if this woman is peeing, they can help her. They're not going to say, oh, well, just go pee before you work out and then that'll be fine. No, there's a lot of little things that we can do and use exercise as a tool to go beyond what they're told in physical therapy and then apply it to their training, because that's where we're going to see progress made. Just like if we're rehabbing from any other orthopedic injury, like a knee injury, for example, yeah, you can go get treatment at physical therapy. Maybe you can do a handful of exercises there. But the real progress is made day in and day out at the gym, where you are progressing exercises and you're pushing it a little bit, and then you're learning when you need to step back and scale back. Maybe you're not ready for that yet, but you're continually using exercise as a tool to make progress. And that's what we have to do during pregnancy, as using exercise as a way to improve the pregnancy experience and be really proactive in our training on behalf of what our postpartum recovery will be like. It's not about training for birth and training for delivery. No, that's dogmatic and shamey and weird. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about training strategically during pregnancy to set yourself up for a really proactive and healthy postpartum return, which goes so far beyond the physical. It's the mental and the emotional expectations, and managing those expectations, and then giving yourself grace and time, and not just being motivated by, I got to get my body back. I want to look like myself again. I want to feel like myself again, but having the support and the guidance from a coach who can kind of be in it with you, because it is so lonely and overwhelming for a mom to feel like she is understood and supported for the season that she's in. And coaches have that opportunity to do that. And I've seen it. I have seen it so impactfully through my own coaching over the last decade plus of working specifically with this population, which, by the way, has not always been professional athletes. It's working with moms in my community that had never touched a barbell before, and then seeing what they could do and seeing how that strength really transferred into building an athlete who had never seen a barbell before, and getting her feeling and looking better in her body and understanding how to improve her incontinence or how to improve her diastasis. All of those things really matter to her, and maybe they didn't matter prior, but they did now. And then training moms through their second pregnancy, if they're like, oh my God, I never want to feel like that again. Or now that I like went through that process, I know what I would do differently, and they're wanting to do it differently. And I've seen that process over and over and over again. I've helped people through all different timelines, all different symptoms, all different considerations. I feel like, I mean, knock on wood, I just feel like I've truly like seen it all, over the last decade plus of working with this population. And again, the most impactful part of this is seeing the impact that's been made globally because I'm one person, I can't coach everybody, and not everybody is going to have access to me. Like they have no idea who I am. That's fine. But they have their coach in their city, in their community, that they can learn from, that they can trust to guide them, that they can trust to refer. And that's the impact that we've created, is access and resources, guidance. And honestly, what's also been cool is seeing so many people start businesses or scale their business because they're able to work with they have such specific knowledge that can be applied broadly. So it's really cool. It's almost like you're niche, but then it also opens up and unlocks the ability to really scale a business and coaching offers, because now you're working with a very common population through the lens of niche marketing and skill set. So that's been really cool too, is seeing the impact of women building businesses, of coaches really scaling their offers, and knowing that this messaging and this education and like practical application, the applied science, is getting out into the world. And that like fires me up. I'm so, obviously you hear me talk, you hear me yap all the time on this podcast and online. But I mean, this is important work. This is important work. It's important work because it's not just, about training through pregnancy and postpartum. It's about supporting women across their lifetime of athleticism, because every woman who is an athlete and becomes a mom, becomes an athlete mom, and ultimately they evolve into becoming a coach mom, because now they're raising this next generation of little girls and little boys who are going to watch their mothers train. They're going to watch the relationship that these women have with their bodies. They're going to watch and see that exercise is just a normal part of a lifestyle, and that caring for your body and not setting these limitations and limited belief systems around what you can or can't do now that you're a mother. Like, no, we're raising a generation to see that athleticism did not end when these babies were born. That's powerful shit, you guys. That's so powerful. And I can tell you this because I'm on the other side. Like, I made it through the trenches of pregnancy and postpartum and little kids. My boys are 7 and 11 now. And it is so normal in our home for me to be competing, for me to be training, for that to be a huge part of my life. And it has looked different through the years. When they were little, I couldn't train the way I am right now. Time and capacity and interest was just so different and was more limited. But that's okay, because when you become a mom, you can still stay in the game. The game just looks different. And we need coaches that help these athlete moms learn how to play that game so that they can truly see the forest through the trees, really be able to zoom out and say, I know this is not forever. This is my temporary reality. And eventually we're going to get to the other side of pregnancy, postpartum, breastfeeding, nap time, workout, hustle, work, life balance, not in balance. It's just chaotic. And again, we need coaches and a deeper understanding of ways that we can support mothers as they navigate pregnancy, postpartum, and their life as an athlete mom. It is impactful, important work. And coaches I've seen, if you're listening to this and you're hopefully maybe a little bit fired up like me, I don't know. It's just cool. We're seeing CrossFit gyms all over that have a designated pregnancy and postpartum athleticism coach, and they're running a 6-week postpartum class. They're running a women's specific class. And then some of those women will transition into CrossFit, or maybe it's just an additional offer that their gym has to widen the impact of their gym and their community. And we're not just seeing that at CrossFit gyms. We're seeing that at gyms everywhere, having women specific programs alongside all the other training offers that they have. We're seeing people scale their personal training offers and clientele because now they feel a lot more equipped to work with this population. Even if somebody's like, I'm 43, I've had 3 kids, they're all older now, but I still pee my pants when I run or when I jump rope or whatever. And we're seeing people reverse their symptoms and solve their symptoms and have an improved quality of life. We're seeing our coaches work with an elderly population who, they're understanding like they really need to be working out, and they want a coach who's really mindful of their body and all of the strategies that are taught in the pregnancy and postpartum athleticism coaching certification, both the online and what will be taught in our live weekend in Arizona, will certainly prepare these coaches to work with women across their lifespan because of what they learn about what their bodies experience, the vulnerabilities, the considerations, the rehab processes, how the physiological considerations translate into functional and performance. Like, they're going to learn all of that. And then it's transferable to everyone that we work with. So the options of ways to apply this curriculum to your coaching environment, your business, etc. It's all very impactful. It's all important. And I've seen this be done in so many successful ways. Coaches are scaling their income, they're scaling their impact. And a lot of our coaches are mothers too. And as a mom who started this business in the trenches of motherhood, and I've scaled all the different offers over time, I can tell you that my years of having little kids where I was coaching Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9:30 and 10:30 a.m. with my babies next to me, inside me, on me, for like 6 years. That was so ideal. Like, I loved that I was able to coach and still be really involved as a mom and make income. Like, it felt like I was able to find this sweet spot of fulfilling what I felt really called to as a coach, and with my knowledge and my expertise and what I was so fiery and passionate about. But I also had little babies, and I had, and through pregnancies and through postpartum, nursing my baby while coaching squats, that was all just my normal reality for so many years. And I'm very grateful for that. And what I've seen is that, I guess, business model, business reality for coaches becomes something that is really special for other coaches too, where they're feeling like they're not having to choose between how they're coaching and what they're able to do as a mother. So that's like a personal piece for me. And again, I've had so many different iterations of how I've coached through the years with this population. Majority of it is all online now. And I do work with people one-on-one or professional athletes and consultations and stuff. But, there are ways to make your coaching complement your life. There's ways to make your training complement your life more. And I've loved witnessing the creativity of ways pregnancy and postpartum athleticism coaches have created businesses and offers in a way that lights them up. They are so passionate. They are so impactful. They are changing lives, and they get that reward. They see it. It is unlike anything, because if you're a mother and listening to this, if you know a mother, so much of her life has changed and she needs support. And if you get to be that resource for her, you get the referrals. It's easy to hype you up because you're somebody who is a game changer for her. So I know this was a lot of, I care about this so much. I know it's a lot of yapping and energy and fire. But I want there to be more coaches. I want there to be access to education and resources. And that is why we are eliminating the variable of time and introducing an ability to cater to people that really prefer to learn in person, and in a way that I haven't been able to offer before, by offering the pregnancy and postpartum athleticism coaching certification in a weekend learning format, while still having access to the online format. So again, that will be March 29th and 30th in Gilbert, Arizona. There's going to be CEUs. We're going to have all of this information linked in the show notes of this podcast, so you can check it all out there. But we're really going to be focusing on the applied science and ways that you can bring this coaching skill set to your own practice, to your coaching, to your community, and create a lot of impact, a lot of income, and just a lot of change and support for the female athletes and women in your life. So thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. If this is something that you feel called to do, I would love to see you in Phoenix in March. Thanks for listening. We're taking a quick break because I wanted to let you know that we are having a flash sale on the live event to become a pregnancy and postpartum athleticism coach. We are hosting a weekend certification course in Gilbert, Arizona on March 29th and 30th. And you can go there, you can learn, network, get immersed in learning how to coach pregnant and postpartum athletes, and also support your own training. If you are a pregnant and postpartum athlete, it's going to be an incredible weekend. I'm really excited to connect with you. And again, we're having a flash sale on Thursday and Friday only, where you can get the certification weekend for $17.97, normally priced at $19.97. You can learn more by clicking the link in the show notes. Thank you, and I cannot wait to see you there. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Practice Brave podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a review and help us spread the work we are doing to improve the overall information and messaging in the fitness industry and beyond. Now, if you are pregnant and you are looking for a trustworthy exercise program to follow, I have you covered. The Pregnant Athlete Training Program is a well-rounded program for pregnancy with workouts for each week that are appropriate for your changing body. That's 36 weeks of workouts, 3 to 4 workouts each week, and tons of guidance on exercise strategy. We also have an at-home version of that program. If you are postpartum and you're looking for an exercise program to follow, the 8-week Postpartum Athlete Training Program would be a really great way to help bridge the gap between rehab and the fitness you actually want to do. From there, we have the Practice Brave Fitness Program, which is an ongoing strength and conditioning program where you get new workouts each week and have a lot of guidance from myself and my co-coach, Heather Osby. This is the only way that I'm really offering ongoing coaching at this point in time. If you have ever considered becoming a certified pregnancy and postpartum athleticism coach, I would love to have you join us. Pregnancy and Postpartum Athleticism is a self-paced online certification course that will up-level your coaching skills and help connect the dots between pelvic health and long-term athletic performance, especially during pregnancy and postpartum. Become who you needed and become who your online and local community needs by becoming a certified pregnancy and postpartum athleticism coach. Thank you again for listening to the Practice Brave podcast. I appreciate you. And please help me continue spreading this messaging, this information, and this work.